seeing the world with new eyes. All I knew was that it was pure delight to be where the land lifted in peaks and plunged in canyons, and to sniff air thin, spray-cooled, full of pine and spruce smells, and to be so close seeming to the improbable indigo sky. I gave my heart to the mountains the minute I stood beside the river with its spray in my face. Wallace Stegner from The Sound of Mountain Water. The blast from the whistle of the locomotive quickened my pulse. Make way! I'm coming through!" it seemed to say. A huge plume of black smoke rose from the stack as the train made its rockabilly way along the mountain ledge. I leaned out of the open-air gondola car to get a better view of the Animas River churning through boulders as big as boxcars. It is one of the few rivers in America that flows unrestricted by dams from headwaters. A silver-haired woman standing beside me shared my exultation as we snaked along the narrow ravine sheathed in blue-green spruce. She giggled, then lifted her face to the crisp wind, sniffing it like a happy puppy. "I think I must have been an engineer in a past life," I said, leaning out of the gondola to face the world head-on. "My parents took me on this trip when I was 5, she said, smiling all over herself. "This is my first time back." For over 120 years, this relic of the American West has been chugging up the rugged canyon, a journey of about 45 miles. At 18 miles an hour, the round trip takes all day. The rail was established to haul silver and gold ore from the mines in Silverton to the town of Durango. Despite the formidable terrain, and without the aid of modern equipment, it miraculously took hand laborers only 9 months to blast through the precipitous stone walls framing the ravine and to erect wooden trestles that would span the gaping gullies and raging river far below. When the mines were depleted, the train was revamped to accommodate wealthy turn-of-the-century travelers. Today, the loving restored train is host to about 1,200 tourists a day in peak season. The track through the forest is so narrow you can touch the pine branches that fill the air with their pungent scent. Though only midsummer, the hardwood's sage-colored leaves were already tipped orange, crimson, and gold. Puffing happily, the train sashayed back and forth across the valley floor through wildflower meadows spiked with stands of columbine and shooting stars, then thundered over wooden trestles high above the reach of the rushing water. For years, I collected clippings extolling the staggering beauty of this region that includes the Jagged Needle Mountains and the vast San Juan Forest in the Weminuche Wilderness. It is Colorado's largest designated wilderness area. My initial interest, however, was generated by the plucky English adventurers Isabella Bird, who rode solo on horseback through the Rockies in the 1870s. Her vivid descriptions of a landscape which simultaneously thrilled and terrified her left me yearning to see this part of our great country for myself. When the train arrived at Silverton, population 500, we were given a few hours to explore the old mining town once famous for its outlaws, ladies of negotiable affections, and miners eager to stake their poke on a game of chance. The sleepy Victorian town rests in an alpine valley that is 9,300 feet above sea level and surrounded by 13,000-foot peaks. It is the most active avalanche zone in the country. I looked up to admire the amphitheater of rock spires peering down upon us and sucked in the rarefied air. A copper-colored stream rich in mineral deposits flows near Main Street. The summer tourist season is short, so shopkeepers in this isolated burg keep prices competitive. I purchased a fire opal ring from a shop owned by Native Americans for about half of what it would cost in trendy Durango. A blast from the train whistle signaled, "All aboard!" Once back on the train, I found the still beaming, silver-haired lady who told me her name was Sarah. We were both eager to get on with our downhill glide back to Durango. The engineer took pains not to pick up speed as we rattled down the tracks, applying the brakes with a jolt at regular intervals. The effortless descent through the cool glades across the rushing Animas seemed a fitting reward for the massive coal-fired locomotive that had huffed and puffed its way 3,000 feet up the mountain. This time we rocked through the forest without the billow of dark smoke rising from the engine to mar the crystalline air. All the way down through the gorge, Sarah mirrored my awe over the ever-shifting patterns of Mother Nature's handiwork. "It's more vibrant than I remembered," she said, blinking back tears. She told me that since her trip as a child through this canyon, her eyesight had grown progressively worse, until at 64 she was nearly blind. 6 months ago she had undergone laser surgery, and this trip was to celebrate the success of her operation. All of her life she held onto the visual memory of the ride up this canyon in her slowly darkening world. And today she was seeing it again with new eyes. The joy of sharing the day with someone who appreciated the undisturbed beauty before us fully as much as I did meant more than any souvenir I could buy. I was thrilled to discover another haploid, someone like me who was totally engaged in the stage of exploration, in just seeing. Marcel Proust said, "The real voyage is not traveling to distant lands, but in seeing the world with new eyes." It was fitting on this fledgling solo travel venture that I, too, was seeing the world with fresh perspective. The rush of the spinning aspen leaves glinting in the sun, the sight of a stag swinging his antlered head from side to side watching us pass through his green world, and the beauty of the languid butterflies drifting on the breeze remained stored in a quiet place in my heart. Since that trip, I made it my mission to get to know the vast wilderness areas that remain in our country, what Stegner defined as the geography of hope.